Hey shipmates, Captain Tupperwolf here. I wanted to share some extra tidbits on the attack periscope. If you haven't already done the tutorial, you definitely need to do so, but there's some extra tips and tricks that aren't covered there that I'm going to try and share. I'll try and keep the headset as still as I can here. Alright, left to right, you've got your MO board over here, your maneuvering board. It's like a little tactical chart. North is always up, south, west, east. You are always in the center. You can see we're on a heading of about 085 right here, and we've got 3 contacts out beyond 3,000 yards. Important tidbit, this little white line, kind of shaded white area with the pings going out to it, that's your detection range. That's how far away the enemy could detect you right now, whether it's sight or whether they could hear you. We're on the surface right now and it's daytime, so that's a full 3,000 yards.
Periscope depth!
We're going to go down to periscope depth and you'll see that ring come in substantially. There are the 2 other pages on this thing, your supplies, how many weapons you got left, and your patrol summary. Not super important for our current discussion. Alright, there's that ring coming in as we submerge. And now our detection range is less than 1,000 yards. We get much closer to our enemy without them noticing us. I know that it's affected by, obviously, surface to submerged. I know daytime and nighttime makes a difference, and I know the sound, your depth and your engine speeds make a difference. I don't think the periscopes make a difference just yet, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, onto the scope itself here. We'll slide forward into our position. Hopefully you already know how the scope itself works, but you've got your wheel here to slew the scope left and right. You've got a lever here to raise and lower the scope, and you've got your other lever here to zoom in and out. These 2, slew and raise and lower, can be done with your right thumb. Slewing left, slewing right, lowering the scope, raising the scope. To the best of my knowledge, you still have to manually reach down and grab to zoom in. Here on the pedestal, we're currently on a heading of, about a 082 or so you can see your compass around, relative courses to your nose, and which way your periscope is pointing. Keep in mind that as you're slewing around, if you're zoomed in, it slews much, much slower. So if you need to go all the way around to look at something, say, off your stern, better to zoom out, slew it around much more quickly, and then zoom back in once you've got the scope on your target. We'll start with the stern guy here. Okay, torpedo data calculator. Remember, this is World War II. Your torpedoes have no homing capability. Once you launch them, they launch, they turn to a pre-assigned heading, and they go on that heading forever. That's it. This figures out what heading to send them on based on your course and speed, your target's course and speed, bearing, target angles, etc. The 2 inputs that you need to do manually are distance and speed. We get those by pinging the target here. For your first 2 pings, there will be a fair amount of error. The distance and speed jumps around. As you get to the 3rd, however, they should steady out. Alright, there it is. Something to keep in mind, once you have this distance and speed, for us just under 3,500 yards at the moment, it doesn't magically change or go away if you momentarily lose track of the target. If your scope comes off of him, but you know what the numbers are supposed to be, just put your scope back on him, and you've still got a pretty good firing solution. On the distance, plus or minus 10-20 yards doesn't usually make a big difference. You can, if you really want to be precise, pull the trigger while you're grabbing on this side, and it lets you be extra precise. Not really necessary, but it's there if you need it. We're going to fire 2 torpedoes at this guy. Before I do that, the last knob, speed. Basically 1, 2, and 3. They are proportional as best I can tell, so this is a little over a minute at speed 2. It's less than a minute at speed 3, and it's almost 3 minutes at speed 1. Most of the time, I fire on speed 3, but maybe tactically for some reason you want one set of torpedoes to take longer. Maybe you're trying to get multiple torpedoes to impact at the same time, or you want more time to escape before the escorts know you're there and come after you. Whatever it is, you've got that option there. So, I'll do one more ping to see if our distance has changed substantially. 3570, almost 100 yards. That's worth bumping this up, getting it a little bit closer. Still 5 knots, and here's one of the things I was talking about. I'm going to slew off the target. I've lost my calculations. I'll slew back onto the target, but I've still got the right speed and information here. I'll just do 1 ping to make sure we're in the ballpark. Good enough.
Now fire!
Alright, those 2 torpedoes are away and should have slightly less than 1 minute runtime. Things to keep in mind tactically: if you are turning, if your U-boat is turning, it makes it extremely difficult to keep your scope on the target. Your periscope is obviously relative to the boat, so try and maintain a steady heading while you're getting firing solutions. Likewise, if you're on a steady heading, but the target's relative bearing is changing a lot, maybe they're in close, they're moving quickly, and they're off your starboard beam, it's going to be very difficult to keep your scope on them while you're doing these calculations. So try to pick a course and heading that keeps them at a relatively steady bearing. You can see our torpedoes on our mob board here, probably about 10 seconds out. There we go. And one last tip: once this guy actually goes under,
torpedo hit at a perfect angle.
alright, we didn't even need 2 torpedoes for that one. Once they know you're here, whether they've detected you, or in this case, once he sinks, the other 2 vessels are going to figure out that, hey, somebody's attacking us. They're going to start zigging and zagging. That is, making regular changes of course back and forth. That's going to make it significantly more difficult for you to hit them from long range, because again, your torpedo doesn't follow them. It just goes on a set heading based on their course and speed at the moment you launched. So sometimes you can get lucky and maybe they zig and then zag back into your torpedo, but more realistically, you're going to need to get in close. You can see this guy's coming to starboard pretty hard right here, and the further guy is going to port. Of course, if you finished off the escorts, you can also just surface and take them out with the deck gun, but if you need to hit multiple targets while staying submerged here, you got to get in close to hit them once they zig and zag. Alright, if you've got other great tips, please put them in the comments and share them. I'm sure there's more out there, but hopefully that's a little bit helpful. Happy hunting.